Welcome, like I was saying, to our introduction to the chakras, or our Chakras for Dummies presentation. Someone suggested the other day in our Reiki Cafe community Facebook group that I do a Reiki for Dummies presentation, and it just got me so excited to do a series of these introduction to the chakras, introduction to Reiki, introduction to type coffee conversations. And so this is the first one of those. Please do not take offense when I say chakras for dummies. I say it lovingly, as in we're going to be diving into the basics of the material today. So welcome to Introduction to the Chakras. I think it's really important to start with defining what are the chakras, because these are things that, whether you are viewing them from a traditional perspective of the Hindu culture and the Hindu religions that bring in knowledge about the chakras, or you're viewing them from this kind of new age spiritual perspective, there are a lot of opinions and ideas and teachings and lessons that we can learn about the chakras. And so what we're going to look at is, when we kind of boil all of these down, when we take the main ideas that the religions and the spiritual theories and all of this really bring together about the chakras, what are the main points? And so when we think about the chakras, we commonly are taught that there are 7 and that they start at the root and go up to the crown. But chakras are energy centers that are within the body, and there are hundreds of chakras throughout the body, but we really think about the main 7 that follow the length of our spine. And chakras are fascinating because when we translate them from Sanskrit, they mean wheel. And when we actually look at their origin and what that Sanskrit word meant at the time, we get a slightly different understanding of the chakras than we have currently. But again, that's something we'll go into more in our workshops later this month. But for our common basic understanding, we can think of the chakras as these energetic storage centers in our body. They start from our root, so at the base of our spine, and go all the way up the length of our spine to the crown of our head, or to just above our head, as you can see here. And so these physically have a connection to the nervous system. And this is actually what got me interested in spirituality and energy healing. When I first started, I was I would have been about 15 years old, and I was dealing with some pretty severe health issues that caused me to have to leave what up until that point had been my lifelong passion of being a classical ballet dancer. And through that process of going to doctors and not seeing any progress in my illness, I started to turn to traditional Chinese medicine. And through that process, I learned about the chakras. And being really interested in health and wellness, but also our anatomy, I realized that there are actual nervous system plexi. So plexi are just bundles of nerves. You can think of these as like nerve hubs stationed where each of the chakras are said to be in spiritual theory. And so this was the first time where I really saw this connection between our scientific anatomical knowledge of the body and our spiritual and intuitive wisdom of our energy, and where they connected. And so this really, for me, this was the start of me going, wow, there is so much more than we know about the body and about healing and about ourselves and the world around us than what we're currently looking at. And so the chakras can be, in this way, a gateway to understanding ourselves and the world around us better. And just like they have this physical connection to our nervous system, to these plexi within our body, these branches of nerves that come off of our spine and create a lot of neurological and thus electrical input in our bodies, each chakra also has emotional and spiritual attributes. And so what this means is that each chakra kind of has this emotional state, or this psychological state, that really defines what we'll call a balanced chakra and an imbalanced chakra. And so when we have a balanced chakra, say a balanced root chakra, we're going to see a certain mental, emotional state in that person that will be very different than the mental, emotional state that that person would be in if their root chakra was imbalanced. And so when we look at this, when we understand that not only are the chakras connected to our energetic being, but they're also connected to our emotional and our physical being, that's when we start to understand that the chakras can make a roadmap for healing dis-ease, for healing those illnesses that are caused by a lack of energetic flow in our body, right? And this is where, going back to the beginning of talking about chakras as wheels, becomes so important, because what do wheels do? They spin, right? And so as these wheels are spinning, as our chakras are spinning, they are flowing energy from one chakra to the other and creating these currents of energy throughout our body and throughout our energy. And it's that movement and that flow of energy that promotes our well-being, that promotes our health, that promotes our feeling of being calm and centered and aligned and grounded and connected to the divine, and all of these feelings that we'll talk about in a little bit. And so when one chakra is imbalanced, or they aren't flowing as well, or the spin is off, or we have a life situation that's impacting that chakra and that's impacting the flow of energy, that's when we start seeing physical representations of that lack of flow in our body. And so let's break this down into a really tangible example. Okay, let's say that you are in a relationship where you feel like you cannot speak up. You feel like you aren't being heard. You feel like your words aren't valued. And so you just stop talking. What's happening there is that we have this psychological experience of, my words aren't worthy. I'm not valuable enough to speak. I'm just not going to talk. And so then we shut down our words. But what does that do? That stops the flow of energy in our throat chakra. And so the energy here is going to become stunted or imbalanced or out of alignment, which is then going to affect all of the other chakras, because that one wheel, that one gear in the clockwork of our chakras is no longer spinning correctly, is no longer flowing correctly. And if that continues for an extended period of time, or that blockage or that lack of flow becomes severe enough, it's going to start manifesting in our physical bodies. And this is where we can really start to think of illness and disease as signs of something deeper, as signposts telling us there's something that is ready to be healed. Rather than a problem that needs to be solved, we can look at it as an opportunity to expand, to grow, to do better, to heal. And so in this case, maybe you develop a thyroid disease or tonsillitis or something like this, and you have this physical manifestation of disease. And so when we're working with the chakras, what we can really say is we can look at, where in the body are we experiencing these illnesses, these states of dis-ease? What chakra is that related to? What energetic situation is that related to, i.e., not feeling valuable enough to talk and not speaking up? And what can we do to restore the flow of energy in this area, which will then not only heal the disease, but also heal and relieve those emotional states that we're experiencing? And so the chakras are really this profound map of spiritual, physical, and emotional well-being, that if we know how to connect, listen, and translate the language that they use to talk to us, to speak to us, and to tell us about what we need in order to heal, in order to be whole, in order to be well, we have a vast amount of knowledge and resources and ability to be able to heal simply by understanding and connecting with the chakras.